Right. So thank you everybody for joining us on this lovely evening here in Vineland. We have a few brave souls who've bared the weather to come out here this evening and join us. I know that there are a few people online as well. This is Corning Pharmaceutical Glass Vineland Modernization Project, EJIS public hearing. We're at the Vineland City Hall on March 5th, 2025. Before I hand it over to our presenters for the evening, I just wanted to go over a few items for housekeeping. If we could go to the next slide, please. This meeting is being recorded. By joining today online and in the room, you consent to your remarks being recorded and shared publicly following this meeting. And that recording and the transcription of this meeting will be made available online at that time. We can go to the next slide. Captions are available if you are joining online. You can simply click on the caption button that you'll see at the top of your screen. There'll be a drop down that appears under caption language, and you can change it to the language of your preference. In the room, we do have Spanish language captions up on the screen for those who may need them. And I'm going to leave it here for just a second to make sure that folks can follow these instructions. And if we go to the next slide, we are going to ask that everybody holds their questions and comments until the end of the meeting. Until the end of the presentation, excuse me, if you're in the room. So at that time, you can line up over here at the podium and form a queue. If you're online, you may use the Q&A feature, which you'll also see at the top of your screen, and that can be used at any point throughout the meeting. You'll simply submit that feature via that feature in writing, and when we get to the question and comment section, I will be reading those aloud in the order that they were received. If you prefer to speak online, please just dial the number that you see on the screen, enter the conference ID, and then you'll follow the prompts. And we will bring that number back up at the end at that time. Please note that when you dial in, your phone number will briefly appear on screen for our online audience, and we will scrub that for the official recording. Next slide, please. Our public comment period is open until April 4th of this year. We're receiving oral and online comments this evening, but written comments can still be sent via email or US mail to us up until April 4th. And if we go to the next slide, please. Our agenda this evening, we're going to start with an about Corning Pharmaceutical Glass, an overview of the company. Then we'll get into the modernization project itself, the project location, the permits, and the summary of EJIS findings. And finally, we will open for that Q&A period. So at this point, I'm going to hand it over to Lou, who manages the Corning Vineland plant, to get us started.
Thank you, Elizabeth. My name is Lou DeSico. I'm the plant manager for the Vineland plant. So Corning is one of the largest leading innovators in the world for material science, inventing life-changing products and technology since 1851. We apply our unparalleled expertise in glass science, ceramic science, and optical physics, along with our deep manufacturing and engineering capabilities, to make vital contributions that advance how the world works, learns, and lives. Corning is driven to innovate. Their leadership across sustainability and workforce development has consistently earned Corning accolades. From producing Thomas Edison's first glass light bulbs, to producing the magic of television that was presented in the 1939 World's Fair, to seeing the development of the polio vaccine using Corning Pyrex labware, to reducing vehicle emissions by 99% since 1972, saving an estimated 160,000 lives per year, to connecting the unconnected with new opportunities via high-speed broadband using optical, fiber, and cable. We're inspired by what our predecessors achieved and excited to help shape the next 2 centuries of human progress. Corning does this by evolving our business, by serving the industries that we serve in 5 primary segments. They are called market access platforms. Display provides precision glass for the world's most advanced displays, delivering richer experiences on televisions, monitors, tablets, and mobile devices. Optical communication includes fiber optic, fiber, and cable, wireless technology, and connectivity solutions to carry information and ideas at the speed of light across the globe. Automotive encompasses emission control technologies as well as glass solutions, which advance interior displays and exterior windows, driving cleaner, safer, and smarter transportation. Our consumer electronics work to enhance a wide range of devices, from damage-resistant cover glass on mobile devices to waveguides for augmented reality. Our life science business, which we are a part of at Vineland, offers trusted products that accelerate drug discovery, development, delivery to save lives, including labware, genomic equipment, vials, and bioprinters. Corning's world-class manufacturing facilities in Vineland, Italy, and China provide every major pharmaceutical and biopharmaceutical entity with single source for innovative technologies, from drug discovery to development to manufacturing and delivery. We've been a leading developer, manufacturer, and supplier of scientific labware, glass packaging products for more than 100 years, such as vials, ampules, prefilled syringes, and cartridges. The Vineland facility produces a diverse portfolio of high-quality Type 1 glass for the pharmaceutical market, including borosilicate, boron-free aluminosilicate, and Corning 33 Pyrex tubing, which enables the highest standards for industry for chemical and hydrolytic resistance. Corning Pharmaceutical Glass, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of Corning Incorporated, is working on the site that is a 38-acre site in Vineland that has been producing glass since 1892. Corning acquired this facility in 2015, and we produce and ship 70 million pounds per year of this high-quality borosilicate and aluminosilicate glass to the pharmaceutical packaging industry. The Vineland facility also houses the largest borosilicate tank in the world. We are also committed not just to our area in the Garden State, but we have more than 230 full-time employees, represented also with the United Steelworkers Local 701. We are the 8th largest producer in the city of Vineland, and we work to support the community, including several nonprofits, such as Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Cumberland and Salem, Boys and Girls Club of Vineland, Wheaton Arts and Cultural Center, the United Way of Greater Philadelphia and Southern New Jersey. Through partnerships with academic institutions such as Rutgers and the community engagement with numerous nonprofits, including annual toy drives for children of the city of Vineland, we contribute to the city and the region's prosperity and development, leaving a legacy for generations to come. I'd like to introduce now Joe, who is our managing consultant for Trinity, who is our engineering and environmental experts that will walk through the proposed plan.
Thank you, Lou. So the reason we're here tonight is due to the Corning Vineland Modernization Project. That project triggered the need to submit a modification to the facility's Title V operating permit. And as a result, with the new environmental justice rules in the state of New Jersey, this permitting action triggers the need to address environmental justice in the community. This project, the application seeks to do a couple of changes at the facility and updates. One is to upgrade the batch house, which I will get into a little bit of discussion about the batch house, and also to decrease the permitted throughput of one of the glass furnaces. Just the term batch house, to go through a couple of terms that are very will come up many times during this discussion. The batch house is essentially the staging ground for the glass making materials that are required. Think of it essentially as you're baking a cake, you're pulling your ingredients together in the batch house, getting them ready, and then from that image up on the screen, you'll see the building that's highlighted as new. That is an extension to the proposed extension to the batch house, where those ingredients will be mixed. They are then conveyed via those conveyors that you can see coming out towards the right of the screen. over into the glass furnaces to be formed into the ultimate product at the end. Additionally, the term Corval, that's a nomenclature for one of the 4 furnaces on site here. We may refer to it later on in the presentation as V-tank as well. And lastly, cullet is a term that we'll be using, and that is an industry standard. Essentially, cullet is glass that is crushed and ready to be recycled back into the batch. And recycling those materials actually makes the process a little more efficient and allows it to reduces the energy use of the furnaces. Next slide. So the project purpose, first and foremost, enhance the employee industrial hygiene and safety within the batch house, improve the overall efficiency of that batch house, modernize it. A lot of the equipment has been in there for many, many years now and is getting closer to end of life, and it's time to enhance that equipment and also enhance some of the emission controls along the way. Some of the key updates that are going into this batch house improvement include the installation of a rail car boot, backup pneumatic transfer of major ingredients. So the first 2, the rail car boot will essentially come up when the rail car brings in the raw materials. That boot will seal the rail car, dropping off the materials down into the conveyor that will lead everything into the batch house. That's one of the improvements on continuing to improve emission controls and to cut down the potentials for dust. And then as we work our way through, there's installation of microdosing, and that is working on different scales of the product to be made, installation of a mini scale, resuming a second mixer. The permit originally had both active, but that one mixer wasn't in use. Now, in order to streamline the processes and make it more efficient, we're bringing that other mixer back online. Installation of additional mixed batch storage silos, a backup batch transfer station, the replacement of the cullet crusher. Again, as we mentioned, the cullet is that glass being reintroduced back into the tank, and the replacement of a vacuum system on site. All of these are essentially updating and modernizing the process, and in some cases helping the Corning facility be more efficient with their processes moving through. In addition to the air permit modification, which was submitted on November 3rd, 2023, the facility has also submitted a air permit renewal application. Every 5 years, the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection requires that a facility renew their permit. Part of that process is to go through looking at the different source types, evaluating compliance, evaluating any off-permit changes, and incorporating that into the Title V renewal. Currently, the facility operates under the operating permit BOP 220004. And that application was submitted prior to this air permit modification. However, once the modification application went in, Corning opted to include both of these into one public hearing opportunity to present this to the public. Environmental justice impact statement. So the as defined in the New Jersey environmental justice regulations, Corning is classified as a major source of air pollution, hence the reason why they also hold a Title V operating permit versus a minor permit. Air permit applications trigger compliance with environmental justice depending on the nature of the project. This project is one that does trigger the environmental justice process and the preparation of an environmental justice impact statement. The environmental justice impact statement the purpose is to evaluate potential facility contributions to both environmental and public health stressors to the adjacent overburdened communities. And we'll get into the definition of an overburdened community a little bit further down in the presentation as well. The EJS for this project was submitted per the requirements of these regulations. And essentially, it's a systematic process to look at the stressors and then evaluate the project and the changes proposed at the facility to ensure that you're not increasing stressors on the community or making existing stressors worse, essentially. It looks at things like existing environmental and public health stressors, any adverse environmental and public health stressors, the presence of any of the cumulative stressors, potential environmental and public health stressors associated directly with the facility. And it's important to note there that some of these stressors exist on the community regardless if this facility was here. Things like you may have heard regional ozone concern when you hear an air quality impact day in the state where they're worried about individuals with that may be sensitive to the conditions. Those are existing stressors which exist in the state throughout. Going back and further down the list, looking to see if the facility can avoid causing a disproportionate impact. That's another thing that has to be identified and evaluated. And the EJIS would also look at the measures the facility will propose to implement or avoid to address any disproportionate impact, and where applicable, how the facility serves a compelling public interest in the overburdened community. The key stressors, so on the environmental justice website, the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection has established the stressors that impact different census blocks. From those stressors, the environmental justice impact statement reviews the stressors and identifies the ones that are connected in one way or another to this project and need evaluation. Of those adverse stressors, this list of 8 are the ones that were evaluated as they at least have a particular linkage potentially to the project and need that evaluation. One is concentrated areas of air pollution, mobile sources of air pollution, existing contaminated sites in the region, transfer stations or other solid waste facilities, recycling or scrap metal. As you can see, some of these are not directly the Corning facility, but the existing community that is being impacted. There's point sources of water pollution. Some of the general activity in the area may cause public health impacts. The density of and proximity of these stressors, there's multiple stressors that impact the overburdened community, and any social detriments of health. The overarching kind of a preview to the end result as we'll work our way through is the air permit renewal and facility improvements will not change or contribute to the existing adverse environmental and public health stressors in the overburdened community and the surrounding vicinity of the Corning Vineland facility. Okay, so now we'll jump into the project location. We've got the nice red pin essentially highlighting the facility. That's the upper of the 2 red marks if it's hard to see on the screen there. And that is the location. It's located on 38, the facility is located on 38 acres at the address of 563 Crystal Ave in Vineland. Next slide. And this is also an aerial of the facility. As you can see, this facility, although it has changed hands over the years, has been part of the central part of the fabric of this community for over 100 years now. And then the little yellow arrow towards the bottom right, along with the blue square, that is the area where we're focused on this project. And that is also the connection to where the rail line comes in to deliver the product. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, overburdened communities there's 3 key factors that identify whether a community is, a census block essentially is identified as an overburdened community. The 3 key factors are at least 35% of the households qualify as low-income households, at least 40% of the residents identify as minority or as members of state-recognized tribal community, and at least 40% of households have limited English proficiency. It's not an all-inclusive list, meaning that if you have all 3, it triggers. Any one of these can trigger the need for the community to have an environmental justice impact done for any changes made there. In the case of the CPG Vineland facility, They are located in a facility that's comprised of greater than 40% residents that identify as minority. And that is the trigger point which triggers this whole process. The Just to identify, because we also look at the overall impact on the water bodies, there is one Pine Branch Creek up towards the north of the plant is the one water body that is anywhere nearby of the facility. And this is just there to include as one of the topics of looking at any potential water impacts. Okay, moving forward now, Corning holds numerous permits with both the state, the city, and also submits reporting as per required by environmental and local regulations. As we talked about before in the beginning, the facility holds a Title V air permit. Facility also holds a NIPD's surface water, which is a discharge permit, essentially water being discharged from the facility to surface waters. Water allocation permit for water use at the facility, backflow preventer permit. Any large industrial facilities that connect to the water supply at in the township have a backflow preventer, and they're required to have that preventer to make sure that there's no backwash of the water from the facility back into the water lines. Additionally, other registrations, there's drinking water registrations, hazardous waste designation. The facility submits greenhouse gas monitoring and reporting rule reports, community right to know, and TRI, the toxic release inventory as well. The last two are federal programs, which are required to identify what you have on facility. And it's really the primary goal off the top is to ensure if first responders have to come on site, they are aware of what is being used at that facility. The modernization project has multiple permit application and registrations that are required as part of this project. One, as we continue the main trigger for the environmental justice evaluation is the Title V air permit modification. In addition to that, the City of Vineland building permits have been submitted and are in process. And also project demolition and disposal regulations have been, permits and registrations have been there because during the construction process, there'll be materials also being removed from the site at that point. And now we're going to jump into a summary of those stressors and the different aspects of the environmental justice rule and the public health stressors and how the Corning project relates to each one of those stressors. So as I mentioned in the beginning, ground level ozone, which is the air we breathe on those sunny, hot days, in particular, the really hot days in the summer, very stagnant air. New Jersey as a whole has ground level ozone impacts on the overall population. On this project, there will be no increases in operational ozone emissions or the precursors, which are the nitrogen oxides and volatile organic compounds that are the precursor pollutants that lead to ozone pollution. The temporary construction activities would lead to short-term ozone as a product of that in just general traffic. Car emissions in the state of New Jersey, car and truck emissions are one of the key ingredients to contribute to that ozone across the board. Your highway, if you were to look at the ozone map on a hot day, you can look at the New Jersey Turnpike tends to have a spike in the ozone concentrations along there due to the emissions from vehicles. Fine particulate matter, the fine particulate matter, PM 2.5, you may have also seen it referred to, is the particulates that get deep into the lung. Folks that have asthma or other breathing conditions, those are the irritants that can exacerbate that problem and make it more difficult for individuals to breathe. This project is demonstrating a decrease in those fine particulate matter emissions. Again, and you'll see the common theme, the temporary construction activities would lead to short-term spikes in those emissions from the vehicles and the combustion of fuels. The diesel particulate matter cancer risk, there's no change to the overall community's community condition when it comes to the diesel particulate matter cancer risk. So there's no change to the long-term operational truck and rail activities at the facility. And also, then there's no change in the number of employees or hours of operation as a result of this project. Air toxics, cancer risks, and non-cancer risks. This project has no emission increases that would trigger the reporting thresholds for any additional hazardous air pollutants or toxic substances. The ones that are identified in the current permit have been evaluated, and the impacts are negligible per the NJDEP's regulations. Mobile sources of air pollution, traffic, cars, and light medium duty trucks. There'll be no increase in the operational activity as a result of this project. Again, during the project, you will have additional individuals coming in and out with their vehicles, so you will have a temporary increase in the vehicular traffic during that construction process. Once completed, back to the baseline where we're at currently. Again, traffic for heavy duty trucks, same thing. There will be no increases in the overall operational activity of the facility. However, there will be a temporary increase during construction. Railways, as we indicated, there is a rail line that comes in to deliver product. The batch house project will not change the number or frequency of rail cars that come in and out of the facility. Known contaminated sites. Soil excavation for the construction will be monitored by an NJDEP licensed site remediation professional, an LSRP. That is a requirement of the state. Anytime that you dig into the ground on a industrial site, it is monitored, and they follow the procedures to evaluate as they dig into the ground. At this point, there's no known concerns, but it will be monitored as the construction process is going on. That is a specific registration process within the state and is required to have a licensed professional who reports back to the state on the progress and what any findings are in the soil. Soil contamination deed restrictions. This project will not cause any additional soil contamination. Groundwater classification exception area, currently known extent restrictions. The project will have no impact to the current site water source or usage. For solid waste facilities, there will be no change to the existing waste management at the facility, the waste management operations at the facility, and also there'll be no change to the overall facility waste streams as a result of the project. Additionally, there'll be no effect on the existing scrap metal recycling operations in the general region. There will be no change. This project will not contribute to any of the existing scrap metal recycling operations in this area. Point sources of water pollution. There'll be no increase in either process or employee water usage. However, and therefore there'll be no impact to local surface waters from stormwater and wastewater discharges. Combined sewer overflows, as one would expect during a construction project, you will have a minor increase in sanitary wastewater generation. Some of the construction operations will make use of porta potty type configuration outside. However, there will also be engineering teams and others that will be occupying office space, which would result in an increase in some of the sanitary wastewater generated from the site during that process. On a long-term basis, this project will not increase water usage rates for the facility. And following the completion of the construction activities, there's no anticipated increase in the wastewater being discharged to the Landis Sewerage Authority. Public health impacts. Drinking water. Again, there would be a minor increase in potable drinking water with the increase in individuals on site. But long-term, there are no increases in that potable drinking water. Lead exposure, no contribution for this project. Open space, there'll be no impacts on parks or open space. Tree canopy, no changes will be made there's no impact on the trees or any existing trees in the area. Impervious surface, the project will add up to 1,700 square feet in net impervious area, which is less than 0.11 or 111% of the total surface area, impervious surface area on the site. And that's for one little corner section where you see the expansion on the map we showed earlier on. There's one corner section for where they'll have to build the base for the building there. Flooding, the increase in impervious surface, as we mentioned just in the last bullet, will not adversely affect on-site drainage or flooding, as it is only 0.111% of the total surface area of the site. Density and proximity stressors. Emergency planning sites. There's no impact on the emergency planning sites in the area. Permitted air sites, air quality improvements from the batch house and the Corval tank modifications will actually improve the overall air quality profile of the facility and thus the air quality conditions in the surrounding community. National pollution discharge sites, increase in impervious surface would affect the permit because we have to add a little additional, very small percentage of impervious surface. That small change is a result of that 0.111% of the total surface area of impervious surface at the site. Social detriments in health, unemployment. The modernization project, the fabrication and construction phases will benefit the community through temporary construction jobs and the usage of local vendors. Upon completion of the project, the workforce is anticipated to return to the pre-construction levels. Therefore, there is no anticipated change in the workforce as it stands right now. There'll be a temporary positive bump for the local community as a result of the construction. Education, the project will not affect general education of the community nor create a change to general hiring practices within the facility. Status quo on the education, no impact from the project. So overall, there's a lot to take in. There's a lot of bullets, and that's the goal of the environmental justice process, is to go through all those different stressors and evaluate it. Generally, the project will not change or contribute to the existing stressor categories. Emission decreases will be observed for nitrogen oxides, volatile organic compounds, sulfur dioxide, particulate matter 10 micron or less, and also fine particulate, the particulate matter 2.5 micron or less. There will be an increase in the annual emissions for total suspended particulates, less than the 5 ton per year category. This emissions increase is below what's called the significant net increase threshold of 25 tons per year, and it's not anticipated to contribute to any exceedance of either the National Ambient Air Quality Standards or the New Jersey Ambient Air Quality Standards, as is codified in the New Jersey regulations. The project will not result in emission increases that trigger reporting thresholds for any additional hazardous air pollutants or toxic substances in accordance with New Jersey DEP subchapter 17, which regulates the hazardous air pollutants. There'll be no localized climate or flooding concerns. The renewal triggered modeling results, dispersion modeling of the existing conditions and the existing hazardous air pollutants listed in the permit. The results are negligible for all reportable air toxic emissions, and that will all be documented following this process and the approval of the permit once approved through the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. And finally, the modernization project will not change the existing long-term operations related activities for the facility. So as we mentioned, during construction activity, a small bump in vehicles and people going in and out of the facility, back to the status quo once the project has been completed. And that's the end of the environmental justice discussion and the impacts. To reiterate, as we discussed in the beginning, we're receiving oral and online comments this evening. The comment period is essentially been open since January 4th and will remain open for an additional 30 days following the hearing tonight. Written comments can be sent via email, and we provided the email address on the slide. Additionally, can be submitted via mail to the address included here on the slide as well. Next steps. So once this is completed, any comments received tonight will be assembled. Any technical issues or questions will be addressed, and a final formal comment response document will be submitted to the New Jersey DEP. Currently submitted was the Environmental Justice Impact Statement, which has been accepted and approved by the state. That is available for public consumption on the New Jersey DEP Environmental Justice website. And the formal comment response document will be submitted to the department. They will review the responses to ensure that Corning has adequately responded to each question. And that will then also be posted online. So any of the questions we received tonight will be responded to accordingly in that document. And at this point, Elizabeth, I don't know if you want to open up.
Yep, so we will now be opening up the floor for any questions and comments. This is the time, if you're in the room, you'd like to make a comment or pose a question, you can come on up to the podium. For those of you online, just remember, and in the room, all questions and comments are going to be recorded. And as Joe mentioned, they will be included in the final EJS document. And if you can go to the next slide, I just want to remind our online audience how to submit before we open up here. So as a reminder, you can use the Q&A function if you want to type your question in, and I will read those out loud. If you could please state your name and any affiliation before you begin within the room and online, that would be great. And we're going to start here in the room.
Good evening. I am Ken Gomminger, International Staff Representative with the United Steelworkers. We represent 800,000 members across the country in various sectors. Here at the Vineland facility, we represent approximately 175 of the 230 full-time employees at the facility. I'm here tonight to encourage the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection to approve the renewal of the air permit and also the modernization plan. Our members here at the facility, which is represented by USW Local 701, produce and ship approximately 70 million pounds of high quality glass tubing for pharmaceutical usage. I'm here today on behalf of our members to voice our support, as I said earlier, for the renewal of the facility permit and the modernization program. One of the core USW principles is the health and safety of our members. This project, through the renewal of the air permit and the modernization project, would enhance the health and safety of our members as well as the community as we understand it. For all those reasons, like I said, we are incurring the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection to approve this permit and the renewal permit and the modernization project. Thank you very much for your time this evening.
Okay. We have received a question online, so I'll read it now. Surface water in this area is already 100% impaired, and your facility has a history of non-compliance with water quality regulations. What steps will you take to reduce hazardous runoff and protect drinking water sources?
That's a complex question. So what I would recommend is that Corning we will take note of the question and we'll respond in the formal question and comment document with the response to that. And thank you for that question. It's a very good question as well.
Natasha, do we have anything on the phone line?
No questions on the phone line at this time.
It doesn't look like we have any further questions online or in the room, but we will be remaining available in the room and online until 8 p.m. So please feel free to dial the number, enter your questions there, or if anybody else in the room would like to speak, please go ahead. Otherwise, that concludes our formal presentation. Okay, we have received another question online. This is from the same person who asked the previous question, so we have you now on record. Thank you. What specific steps are you taking to reduce emissions of nitrogen oxides, volatile organic compounds, and hazardous air pollutants beyond just regulatory compliance in order to protect the community further against their health impacts?
First, I'd like to thank you for that question, and Corning will prepare a formal response as part of the response document to be posted on site for that. Thank you once again for the question.
Thank you. We have another question that's come in online. Jill says, thank you for this presentation. Could you state how many people are attending the meeting in person and online, and briefly what steps you took to advertise the meeting? So I can answer that we do have 3 guests in the room. We had 6 representatives from Corning and Trinity Consulting, 1 security member, and then online, I think at our peak, there were about 14 folks online. If one of you wants to go through our public notification process.
Thank you for that question. We followed the guidelines within the environmental justice regulations. Mailers were sent out to all addresses within 200 feet of the property. In addition to that, notification was provided online through the NJDEP Environmental Justice website. Furthermore, the public notice was posted in various locations throughout the township. We'll expand on those details in the formal response, and we'll provide all the different avenues. But the public postings were above the minimum of what is required per the regulation. And we'd be glad to provide that in the formal response. We'll list out all the different notifications and how they were taken care of.
in case you are just joining us online. The formal part of our presentation is over, but we are still accepting questions and comments via the Q&A feature and the phone number on screen until 8 p.m. Thank you. We do have another question that's come in online that I would like to add to our record. There are 7.75 contaminated sites per square mile in the block group area of CPG, 18 times higher than the county average. What is Corning doing to ensure its facility does not contribute further to soil and water contamination? The facility has a hazardous waste permit.
Once again, I'd like to thank you for that very, very good question. And Corning will respond to that in detail in the required response document, which will then be posted online and will reference your question. Thank you.
So someone did just ask online if the hearing was over. For those of you who've just joined us, the hearing, the formal portion of the hearing, the presentation has ended, but we are still receiving questions and comments. We have the information on screen for how you can do that if you'd prefer to call in. The phone number is there, or you can use the Q&A feature, and I will read your question out loud to the panel. But we will be here until 8 p.m. And the full recording will also be posted online as well as the transcript if you missed the presentation. In case you're just joining us online, I just want to reiterate that our formal presentation has ended, but we are still here live receiving your questions and comments until 8 p.m. The instructions for how to do this online are on the screen. And this meeting has been recorded, so the full presentation and transcript will be available online following the meeting. Thank you.
I think one of them's Natasha, though.
I just want to remind everybody that if you just joined online, our formal presentation has ended, but we are still live and accepting questions and comments for about 30 more minutes until 8 p.m. The instructions for how you can do this online are on the screen here. This call has also been recorded. The transcription and the recording will both be made available online following the meeting. Thank you.
I just want to remind people online that although the formal presentation has ended, we are still live. We're receiving questions and comments for about the next 10 to 15 minutes until 8 p.m. The instructions for how to do so online are on screen. And this meeting has been recorded. The transcript and recording will be posted online following the meeting. Thank you. I looked, but then sometimes you I want to give a last minute reminder that we have about 5 minutes for questions and comments until our meeting ends at 8 p.m. If you haven't had a chance to ask your question or get your comment in, now is the time. Thank you.
Close out with the. Yeah.
Okay, the time is now 8 p.m. I'm going to officially close out our public notification hearing for CPG. Um, This meeting has been recorded. It will be posted online along with the transcript. All the questions and comments that were received tonight will be included in our report. And I want to thank everybody who joined us in the room and online tonight. Thank you.